Good morning, I'm Reverend Joanna. Welcome to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church and to our annual homecoming service. This is a tradition in UU churches where at the end of summer, after we often have been away on vacation or people have been at camps or doing other things, at the end of the summer we come together to get ready to start the new church year and to celebrate the community itself and celebrate the joy that we have in being all together again. It's a little different this year. We're not physically together, but I think it is just as important, actually probably even more important, to celebrate this community. One of the most common things that I often hear from people who are new to Unitarian Universalism is they say that this feels like the religion that they always were, they just didn't know it existed. And religion is, to a certain extent, a sort of home. That's why people will ask you, have you found your church home yet? And maybe this is your church home. And if so, we welcome you. We're so glad that you managed to find us. And so whether you have been a member for a very long time, or if this is your very first Sunday joining us, welcome to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church. Welcome home. And now it is tradition in Unitarian Universalist churches to begin our gatherings by lighting a chalice. The chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. And so if you have a chalice or some sort of a candle near you, start pulling it forward so that we may light our chalice together.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see
My name is Carrie Krause. I'm the Director of Lifespan Faith Development at Live Oak. I'm glad you joined us this morning. Today's big idea is The End of Beavertown by Aaron McEmrys. Not so very long ago, there was a place called Beavertown. Beavertown was a series of 4 ponds connected by underground channels and tunnels. And as you might suspect, it was called Beavertown because it was a home to beavers, lots and lots of beavers. Beavertown was very old. Beavers had been living there for as long as anyone could remember. It was a great place to raise pups, to have a family, a happy place for beavers to live. Everyone got along for the most part. Well, one morning, the beavers awoke to find that the water was draining from their pond. Some of the bravest beavers volunteered to go and see if they could figure out what was happening. And they set off, and they traveled far to find the problem. But there it was, a new farm. It wasn't a farm like the other ones that dotted the valley, the other ones that were close to them. It was a huge farm with vast fields and lots of noisy machines and big metal pipes that spewed water, lots and lots of water over the plants. Now, all living things need water, but most especially beavers do. I mean, it's where they live, it's where they have their babies and they eat. Water is important for beavers. And the beavers, you can understand why they'd be a little bit upset. That night, some of them were crying, and still others sat there shocked and confused, and some were so angry they wanted to chew through those pipes. The beavers had never lived without water, and they were scared. And some of them started acting very strangely. They were walking around saying things like, "Woe is us, the end is near," and "Prepare for the final hours, we are being punished for our sins." Nobody had ever heard such talk before. But to many beavers, it seemed to make sense. I mean, why else would all of this be happening to them? They must have done something. It was their fault. Old Grandmother Beaver, now, she was a little scary because she was so old and tough. She'd been off to the side listening to all of the beavers, and finally she decided to speak her mind. She walked right into the circle of the beavers who were waiting for the world to end and barked, "I'm here to talk some sense into all you silly beavers. Do you think we have never been without water before? Do you think we have never struggled and suffered?" The beavers remembered the winters when the water froze hard and some of them died. And they remembered the hunters and the trappers who had come for their fur. They spoke of times that they'd been hungry or afraid or uncertain of how they would make it through. But they had. They had made it through because they loved each other. Their parents had not been willing to give up on life and hope. They made it through because beavers have always stuck together, and they've kept living as best they could, even when it seemed hopeless. "Listen to me, beavers," Grandmother said. "The world has always been like this. The water comes and goes, terrible things happen, and we don't understand why. But we have faced trouble before, and we are still here. So, who's it going to be? Who's going to go find us some new water?" One small beaver thumped her tail and spoke up. "I'll go." And that's all it took. Soon, all the beavers were shouting, "I'll go, I'll go." And they were dancing around and stomping and thumping their tails. That very night, 4 groups of beavers left Beavertown going in different directions. Meanwhile, in Beavertown, the water dwindled to almost nothing. But the people, even though they were afraid, held on to hope and did the best they could to take care of each other. Finally, on the dawn of the 7th day, one group of beavers returned, exhausted from their journeys. But they said, "We found it." The beavers set off to their new home that very day. They left Beavertown and didn't look back. And in their new home, they're building dams and playing and fishing and raising pups and just going on living. Because together they learned that even when things look bad, you should never give up hope. And it doesn't mean the end of the world.
Hold on to me as we go, as we roll down this unfamiliar road. Although this weight is stringing us along, just know you're not alone, 'cause we're gonna make this place your home. Settle down, it'll all be clear. Don't pay no mind to the demons, they fill you with fear. The trouble, it might drag you down. If you get lost, you can always be found. Just know you're not alone, 'cause we're gonna make this place your home. Oh, 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 oh. Settle down, it'll all be clear. Don't pay no mind to the demons, they fill you with fear. The trouble, it might drag you down. If you get lost, you can always be found. Just know you're not alone, 'cause we're gonna make this place your home. Oh, 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 oh,
There will always be waters to refresh you. That was the message that I heard on one of the few experiences I've ever had that I would label as mystical. my family, my spouse and my children, and then later my parents, my siblings, my in-laws, we all used to go to this place up in Pecos, New Mexico, up in the mountains of New Mexico. And it was right on the banks of the Pecos River. And we would go there every summer, and everything was sort of oriented around that river. We had our meals out there. We had campfires complete with corny guitar sing-alongs and roasting marshmallows. It was the place that we went to after my daughter had cancer both times. It was on the banks of that river that I went every morning and sobbed until finally one day I had no more tears left. I found a certain level of healing out there. And this one summer, it was really hot, uncharacteristically, for up in the mountains. And I waded out into the middle of the river, which was nice and cold, and I just wanted to be immersed in it. So I just lay back until I was completely under the water. And that was when this message came to me. And it said, "There will always be waters to refresh you." I didn't think much of it at the time. I just figured, oh, my imagination being poetic, and maybe that is all that it was. But a couple of days later, the owner of the property came to us and announced that it was being sold to someone who was going to use it only for his own family, and we would never be able to rent it and go there again. For those of you who have felt attached to a certain place, especially a place where water was part of it, and I know that for many of you that there is something about water, like with me, that just connects you to the earth and to all that is. There was something about hearing that we couldn't go back there. I just felt so incredibly sad and lost. It was like there was no other place on earth like this. And then those words came back to me. There will always be waters to refresh you. Later, back at home in Houston, where I was sure there were no waters to refresh me, certainly no mountain streams, I did what I always did, which was go to the YMCA, walk around the indoor track, and I had noticed through one of the windows that there was like this, some kind of a grassy, wet area down below. I figured it was just like a drainage ditch. You have a lot of those in the Houston area. But one day when I went to the Y, rather than going inside and upstairs to the track, something pushed me to go around the corner of the building and explore, see what the heck that was. And what I discovered was a pond. I mean, not a little pond, a great big pond that was filled with cranes and turtles, whole families of turtles and fish, all kinds of birds, many of whom I didn't even know the names for. And it had a path all the way around it. It had logs for sitting down on and shade. And at one end, it even had a bench that you could sit down on and meditate or just be happy that you were outside. Turns out I had found other waters to refresh me. And over the next few years, I would go there time and time again, noting the seasons as they changed. And when I had heartaches, as we do, that's life, I could take them there. I know that this summer has been a pretty different summer for many of us. Many of the usual vacations have instead been staycations. We've been staying in our houses, not seeing many people other than online. But you know what? There are still waters to refresh us. And just like when I found this pond, no, it was not the same as being next to the Pecos River. But it had a value in and of itself. I saw things there that I never saw in Pecos. And so now we are in a reality that is so much different than the one that we are used to. But that doesn't mean that we can't find things to refresh us and find things that bring us joy. Now we are at a time where we are going to have a story at the end of this. And we are creating a collective story, you and I, the story of Live Oak during the pandemic. What is it that we want that story to be? If we can decide that, then now, at kind of the start of the story, we can create that story together. We can make the details come true. So I'm going to confess something, and I realize that for most people, the level of hyperbole in my imagination, they don't have to struggle with any of this, and they're lucky. I had to remind myself, Joanna, you are not Anne Frank hiding in an attic. Because right now, 2020 can make you kind of feel like you are. But we still have waters to refresh us. We still have the community that we are a part of. It'll look different, but different isn't necessarily bad. In the song Home by Philip Phillips, he talks about, I'm going to make this place your home. And I've been thinking about what that means for us, because this is our homecoming service. And people often talk about their religious home. This is our religious home. And we can make this place, whether it is the internet or finding places that we can hike or get down to the water. By the way, I'm in Brushy Creek right now. We can make this place our home, and we can encourage and strengthen each other, and we can find joy in all of the things that are around us, and we can find joy in each other. Welcome home. I'm so glad that we have an online home to come back to, where we can see each other's faces and exchange how we're doing and talk about our dreams, talk about the story that we want to co-create together. And we're going to be doing that later today. What is the story that you want to be a part of? The story of Live Oak during the 2020 pandemic, as well as everything else that is happening in 2020. As far as I'm concerned, our water communion is one of the sacraments of this church. It's an annual sacrament that we do because of the symbolism that each of us have our own journeys, our own trips, and yet we bring those together. We bring the stories together. We bring our experiences together. We bring who we are together, and we share them with each other, and we create something that is holy and sacred. Again, I say to you, welcome to Live Oak. Welcome home.
We're coming to the edge, running on the water, coming through the fog, your sons and daughters.
There's a metaphor that has circulated for several years now called footprints, in which a person looks back on their life as if looking at a beach and notices that during the hard times there is only one set of footprints. In this metaphor, God says those are the times when He carried the person. I don't mean to take away from the people for whom this metaphor has power, but my experience when I went through the most difficult time of my life was a little different. For one thing, I never felt carried. Every day I had to get up and keep putting one foot in front of another. But when I look back on that time, I don't see one set of footprints or even two. I see hundreds. All the people who sent cards, brought over casseroles, prayed for us, thought of us, visited us, and cared for us. They let us know that we were not alone. They were there, walking with us. Thanks for joining us this morning, and a huge thank you to everyone who helped put this service together, the producers, the musicians, everyone who sent photos or video, and everyone who participated in the chat on the sidebar. Worship is not something that we watch, it's something that we do, and we do worship together. And now I'd like to invite you to join us on Zoom. Today we're going to have a sort of a town hall where we talk about what is the story that we want to co-create together of Live Oak during the pandemic. And if this was your very first Sunday to be with us, I hope you'll come to that too, so that we can kind of get to know you, and we'd love to hear your ideas as well. May you go forward, knowing that you are lovable and loved, that life is fragile and a gift, and you are not alone.
I am an architect of days that haven't happened yet. It seems like just a month is all it's been. You know my paper heart, the one I fill with pencil marks. I think I might have gone and inked you in. Little by little, inch by inch, we built a yard with a garden in the middle of it. And it ain't much, but it's a start. You got me swaying right along to the sound of your heart. And a face to call home, face to call home. Yeah, you got a face to call home. So glad you didn't see the nervous wreck I used to be. I'd never thought a man could feel so small. But you never look at me like I'm a liability, and I bet you'd never think I'd been at all. By little, inch by inch, we built a yard with a garden in the middle of it. It ain't much, but it's a start. You got me swaying right along to the sound of your heart. And a place to call home, place to call home. Yeah, you got a place to call home. Maybe